Well, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to see you all. What I want to do is start off with a quick game. Let's get us all warmed up. We're all here now. All I want you to do is put your coffees down, put your phones down for a second, and every time I clap, I want you to join in. Just clap along with me, okay? Real simple. Right, okay. So, let's go again. Ready? Every time I clap, you clap. Right, now the thing is that in life a lot of the time, things like somebody clapping, you clapping along, doesn't quite go as you expect it to. Things in life sometimes have a habit of changing, not being quite what you anticipated. And sometimes it's as simple and as easy and as smiley as clapping along with somebody on a stage. But sometimes it's much more important than that. I wasn't always in a wheelchair. I fell off of a balcony 17 years ago now. And that was a moment that I didn't expect. From there, I spent some time in hospital. I was quite nervous and scared, no doubt about it. Went through quite a low time, both mentally and physically. But it was sport that got me out the other side of it. I'd always played a lot of sport. I'd always been interested in sport. And after my injury, I started playing wheelchair rugby. Now, wheelchair rugby is a full contact sport where people go around knocking each other out of wheelchairs. Don't knock people out of wheelchairs, by the way. The police will get involved. But it was a massive, massive thing for me. From playing and turning up at that first training session, I can remember how nervous and scared and intimidated I was. And I didn't go back the second time because of the sport. I went back the second time because of the people involved in it. The people that played, the coaches, the volunteers, the people that helped it happen. Because of their help and support, I ended up going full circle, and by 2012 I was captain of the team for Great Britain. Leading the team out at the home Paralympics was one of the biggest things I've ever done. What I didn't realise at the time was all the other skills that I was learning. Things like being prepared, making sure I had all my kit, making sure I was ready, making sure I was sleeping well, being able to work under pressure, being able to be reliable and trustworthy, people skills. And they're things that I use now in every area of life. My work's changed after retiring from sport through injury. I started working on television with it, working with Prince Harry and the soldiers at the Invictus Games. And then from working there and at the Paralympics, Wimbledon, Marathon, the BBC said, "Do you know what, Stephen, you're pretty good at this talking malarkey. Have you got any other hobbies or interests?" And now I work on things like Country File and Escape to the Country, and I love it. Now, why am I telling you all this? Firstly, to give you a bit of background on me, but to let you know that none of that would be possible without volunteers. None of the things that I've just spoken to you about would happen if it wasn't for unsung heroes, people being involved, sometimes in the shadows and in the background, but very often the very forefront. Volunteering is such an important thing to do, a thing to be part of, and it doesn't just help other people, but mentally and physically, it helps the volunteers as well. And what I want to do is introduce a fantastic panel up with me that have all got different backgrounds, and we're going to hear much about their stories now. But please put your hands together for Phil Smith, Sam Barlow, and Hannah Mills. Brilliant stuff. I mean, what we've got here is a fantastic selection of brilliant people. And one of the things that you talk about in the Rotary a lot is ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And these are three of those fantastic figures that I've got with me. Now, I mean, we'll start with you, Hannah, if it's okay. I mean, firstly, two-time Olympic GB sailing champion. I mean, the most successful Olympic sailor ever. You know, that's some title, you know. So please, I mean, firstly, I suppose what would be great is just to get a little bit of background on that, how you got involved, those first times going out on the boat, and how it flowered into what it is now.
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you for having me. It's really exciting to be here today. And yeah, so I started sailing at the age of 8 on a family holiday down in Cornwall. Just fell in love with the freedom of being on the ocean. Sailing a boat on my own, away from mum and dad, I think was just insane at that age. And we went back to Cardiff, where I grew up, and we found this amazing little reservoir with this little wooden hut with loads of boats. And I just look back so fondly of that time of just, and like you said, Steve, just the people that were there that made it so special and made me want to go back and keep coming back. And yeah, it was a great part of my life. And then I got competitive, which I tend to do with most things that I do. And the racing side of sailing took over. And yeah, my journey kind of started probably from the age of 11, when I realized sailing was in the Olympic Games, actually, and then I was like, that's what I want to do, which is a pretty lucky thing, I think, from that young age to know what you want to do. Yeah,
I mean, it says here that one of the big things that inspired you was like the Games Makers at 2012. I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, like London 2012, you were there, was just the most incredible Olympic. I mean, how many people in this room went? I mean, I'm sure, yeah, it was unbelievable to be a part of, wasn't it? And I look back at the games and I just vividly remember the Games Makers, because and if anyone here was a Games Maker, then awesome, because it was just so special to see the community of people that came together for the London Games. And I remember actually launching my boat every day. And this one lady would always be there, the same lady, always there to come and help take my trolley away from my boat. And that was almost like became part of my warm-up routine for going out racing, was the fact that this lady, and I was like, gosh, you better not come one day. So yeah, it was incredibly special.
That's it. And you know, we talk about obviously the Games Makers and everybody that you're talking about were all volunteers. You know, they're coming along because they want to be part of what was a fantastic sporting event. And somebody that's not a stranger to volunteering is Sam Barlow. I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit more in a moment, but as BBC Sports Personality of the Year Unsung Hero last year, I mean, that in itself it's an absolutely amazing achievement. But one of the important things is it's not always that top end. When we talk about sport, you go through these transitions of enjoying it and then enjoying being good at it and becoming competitive, and you know, but it's not always about that top end stuff, is it? And one of the things you do now is the charity for Fitmums and Friends.
Yeah. So Fitmums started in 2009 when I was working full-time in the NHS. My little boy had started school, and I realised I was missing out on that really important opportunity to make friends in the playground. Everybody told me they're the friends you'll make for life, and I wasn't there. So I just wondered if I could combine my need to be a bit fitter, because by then I had a post-baby body. So I asked the teacher to put a little flyer in the book bag of my son's class and said, would anybody meet me for a run on this particular night? And 4 people turned up, 4 people I'd never met before. And that was the beginning of what really has been a most unintentional story. I just wanted to make friends, and now we've got about 15 clubs across Yorkshire and in the North East.
It's amazing, isn't it? And that is all done through volunteers.
Oh yes, absolutely. It's incredible that all that happens because of volunteers, people who want to support other people who, like you say, aren't doing it to win an award, but are doing it because they get such a buzz out of supporting other people.
Yeah, see, and this is just it, isn't it? And Phil, Executive Director of Partnership at Sports England. I mean, you're as an organisation, 7 million people being supported. And we've heard already about the excitement you get from sport at an early age, how important volunteers are. But at the top end, volunteer is no less important, is it?
Well, I suppose the first thing I want to say is thank you to all the volunteers, both on the stage and in the audience, for everything you continue to do, if you do it in sport or indeed in any other walk of life. I suppose I'm here really, unlike my esteemed and accomplished colleagues, rather than talking about my personal life, I'm here to talk about volunteering and how it works in sport and how we want it to change and be better and modernise. But honestly, volunteering, with the exception of my family, is the best thing I do in my life. I coach a boys football team. My eldest boy's 18. I've been coaching them for 10 or 12 years. And what I've learned from them, what I've learned about myself, what I've learned about life and being a bond with these young men, honestly, I can't replace it in any other way. It's amazing.
No, and it's just that, isn't it? The way that you get so much out of volunteering as well. And it's being that support for others, and you come back feeling better about yourself. And one of the things that I know that you wanted to do, Hannah, with COP 26, you wanted to really harness that power of sport in other ways. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so after the Tokyo Olympics, which got delayed a year, so last year, 2021, my journey with the environment had started sort of 5 or 6 years earlier, but I think we'll come back to that. But I just felt so strongly that the Olympics had taken place in such incredible circumstances, such challenging circumstances, and the athletes that had got there and delivered their best performance on the day, and the journey they'd been on was just, you know, it's always challenging at an Olympic Games, but that, for me anyway, was like no other, that journey to get there. So I felt like that had a great synergy with COP26 and the ambition and the courage that we needed to see from our world leaders to try and tackle the climate crisis. So myself and a fellow athlete, Melissa, got together and thought, what can we do about this? And we thought, let's bring together as many high-performing athletes from around the world that were at the Olympics or Paralympics to address our world leaders. So we put this video together, and the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, sort of supported it and backed it, and the UN's supported it and backed it. And it kind of went everywhere at COP26. It was pretty mental experience and thing to put together.
No, I'm sure it was, and we can have a quick look at that video now.
Yeah.
Dear leaders of the world.
Dear leaders of the world.
Dear leaders of the world.
This summer, at the Tokyo Olympic and Paralympic Games,
we as athletes chased excellence in the face of challenges.
To overcome obstacles.
To lead the pack.
To go faster, higher, stronger.
Together. Under immense pressure and adversity.
We delivered.
Meeting goals that others believe impossible.
Tokyo and the people of Japan delivered.
When many thought it impossible.
Each Games seeks to deliver a lasting legacy.
But how do we pass on that legacy if there isn't a safe and healthy planet to experience it?
Heat, humidity and extreme weather conditions
mean many of our sports are already under threat.
And sport is just one part of a much greater global picture.
We did our utmost this summer.
And we know that when we strive to achieve our best, others come with us.
Now, it's your chance to deliver.
This is the race we need to win. And the speed of the race is determined by each of the participants in it.
At COP26,
the Olympics of climate summits.
we need you to lead us.
to show real ambition and courage,
Working together to secure the future that we all depend on.
Anything less won't win this race.
Over the next fortnight, we will be looking to you and supporting you.
To forge the ultimate legacy.
A healthy, safe Earth for all.
Yours, athletes of the world.
See, I feel all self-absorbed now because I was sitting there saying about how through sport I learned to be more focused, dedicated, people skills, etc. But you're looking at things, the power of sport to not just better yourself, but to better the planet.
Yeah, and I think what was incredible about that video is we put it together in 6 weeks, so it was hectic. And what blew me away was actually reaching out to all these athletes that are kind of megastars in their countries and globally, is just how quickly they said yes. Yeah, I want to be a part of something. I want to do this. This is something I can do, no problem. And that for me was the biggest takeaway, was just how much people wanted to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah, and it's just that, isn't it, Phil? I mean, when you talk about sport and those transferable skills, the strength and the self-determination you find through sport can lead you to be headstrong in other areas of life, just like that.
Well, Sport England's main mission in life is to try and get all of us to try and be fitter and more active, to move more. And it doesn't have to be Olympic or Paralympic level sport. It can just be walking, it can be exercising at home, it can be doing all the things that we've tried to do in the last couple of years. We've realised in pursuing that mission, not only are we dependent on volunteers, which is kind of obvious, but the act of volunteering itself can be good for you.
Yeah.
We can prove it with our data. We do tons of research, and we can see that volunteers themselves are not only doing brilliant things like Sammy's for her community and the women that she works with, but volunteers themselves can be fitter, they can be mentally more healthy, they're more connected to their community. And I know it sounds a bold claim, but I can show it. Volunteers are happier. Yeah. They're happier than the general population. What more do you need as a cell?
No, that's right. And I suppose, Sam, that's something that you can echo.
Yeah, definitely. You know, our organisation runs on volunteers, and sometimes, you know, the rewards are beyond what you would ever imagine. You know, for some people, it's that connection, as you say, the connection with the community is so absolutely massive, and that feel-good factor is unbelievable. And you know, I have run okay in the past, but I've done marathons, I've done all of that. But you know, my biggest buzz is supporting someone to run their first mile, because the joy, the achievement, it is like a drug, and it's just, once you've experienced that, you just want more.
No, that's right. And I get it myself. You know, I've gone through maybe my own personal bests, and now all I want to do is pay it forwards. I spend a lot of time helping, directing, coaching, and giving up time to help others get what they can out of sport because of that bigger picture. Helping and supporting people through sport doesn't stop at personal best on the track or on the pitch or in the pool or, of course, on the water. And but it was your time on the water that made you realise that things had to change in terms of the world. And now you're the founder of the Big Plastic Pledge. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I guess it sort of started for me between the London Games and the Rio Games, where I'd achieved a silver medal at London, and I was going for gold, hopefully, at Rio, but I just felt like something was missing. You know, for me, you know, doing an Olympic sport and trying to train and compete, you have all these people supporting you and helping you achieve that goal, and it's quite a selfish thing, I think. It's incredible and amazing, but it's quite a personal, selfish thing, and I actually just struggled a little bit mentally with that. And so spending a lot of time in Rio and seeing the plastic pollution then and how bad it was in this one place that we were sailing in was just mind-blowing. And it kind of awoke something within me that was like, I want to do something about this. This can't carry on. And so, yeah, I launched in 2019 eventually, actually, what's called the Big Plastic Pledge, which is essentially trying to eradicate single-use plastic in sport. But I think the biggest message is that unintentionally, actually, I got so much out of that personally, and bringing other people into what I was trying to do, just that fulfillment piece. And it's what we've all been talking about, is that community, the fulfillment of doing something for other people or for the planet or whatever it is massive.
No, I get that entirely, because when you are top of your game in sport in particular, it's very, you're driven by yourself, your own success and your own routines, and sometimes it's very easy to get lost that there is that bigger picture. And let's have a look at the video of the big plastic pledge now?
It was one of the most pivotal points of my career, winning a gold medal at Rio 2016, but equally really highlighted just how much damage had been done to the ocean through plastic pollution. It was so shocking that I decided to help. This is the Big Plastic Pledge. Easy to think that we couldn't possibly make a difference, that it isn't even our fault. But we're all part of it, and together we can make a difference. From the pitch, from the court, from the pub screens and the sofas, from the track and the ring, from the soaking Sunday mornings. We're fans, we're athletes, we're volunteers, we're weeknight five-a-siders. Always we, never I. A team. Together we can eradicate single-use plastic in sport. The Big Plastic Pledge. Are you with us?
See, and that is something that resonates very closely to me. I'm careful, but the truth is a lot of it's about education, isn't it? And I've been educated in that through the work that I do with Countryfile, by speaking to people that are doing their very best in so many ways to help and look after our planet. A lot of them, obviously volunteers as well, when you're looking at things like the Woodland Trust or people with the RSPCA and that kind of thing. It's very much volunteer-led. And Sam, I mean, it brings me on to you, seamlessly really, about volunteering, because we've talked about how it can help the people around you, how you can get so much pride and self-worth out of it. But how did you become such a volunteer? Where did it start? When did you decide, I'm going to help other people?
Well, as I said, it was really quite unintentional. What happened when those first few people started turning up on my driveway, I realised very quickly they were coming to me, but they wouldn't have gone anywhere else. So they wouldn't have gone to an ordinary running club, for fear of not being able to, fit in and achieve what you needed to do. So it grew so quickly that there was too many people on my drive, and I needed to move away from the drive and find somewhere to meet. And so I realised I was reaching a group of people who, without my support, would not have made that intention to become more active. So hence I had to develop systems of support, and that's how it grew. And it's in those very early days when I realised, wow, how good this feels to see how you're changing someone else's life, and not necessarily through physical fitness, but through that social connection, that psychological support, that mental well-being. All of that was like amazing.
Yeah, and of course, you fast forward and you get to 2021, and something quite magical happened for you, didn't it? Let's have a look.
Good luck. It gives me great pleasure to announce that the 2021 Unsung Hero is Sam Barlow.
Oh, wow. I think it's safe to say Sam was slightly surprised. But congratulations. We'll hear from you in just a minute. We'll give you...
See, that is something. Look at that grin. Hey, look at that grin. Well done. Well done. I mean, tell me, I mean, we'll get a bit more of your reaction in a moment, but tell me, like, that moment when you heard your name, and what's going through your head. It's called an Unsung Heroes Award. For me, there should be no unsung on the front of it. You are just a hero. Oh. It's amazing what you do selflessly for other people. But when you realise that the efforts you put in was being nationally and internationally recognised, what went through your head?
Well, I mean, you can tell. I just did not expect that at all. And I think what's lovely about it, and for everybody that was on that screen, because everybody would have been a worthy winner, is the fact that, you know, volunteering isn't always easy and you do sacrifice a lot. So just to, you know, the years and years of hard work that go into everything that volunteers are involved with, it's a lovely moment, isn't it, to have that recognition. And I think I'm just doing a little bit of work up in Yorkshire, nobody knows, and all of a sudden people are stopping me in the street and, you know, people are realising there's good stuff happening in an area where it doesn't get a lot of publicity. So, you know, it was just incredible, still is.
I suppose I want to try and make the link here, Steve, between what individuals can do with a little bit of their time, which is where Sam started, and the global change the world proposition that Hannah's involved in, which I can understand you can view here and think, how am I going to get involved in that? But that's where Sam started. That's where I started with my football team, giving a little bit of time here and there. And it doesn't have to lead to years and years of effort and founding a charity and doing all the wonderful big things you're doing now, or indeed speaking to people at COP26. It might just be those little bits of time here and there that will make a difference to one person's life, including your own. All of those things, Sport England does all the research on your behalf. We add them all up and we make it into a story that makes volunteering amazing. But your individual contribution, if you're unsure today, if you're already working in a sport or activity organisation, you're thinking, I could do with some help here, talk to the Sport England team who are here at the front waving, talk to them, fantastic people who will help you. Or if you're thinking, as I know some of you will be, how do I get involved in my local activity? I want to do something, I'm not sure what it is. Talk to them again and we'll find you somewhere to go and something to do. It can be 20 minutes of your week. It could lead to a lifetime of great feelings and outcomes.
And that's just it, isn't it? It's not about, the volunteering doesn't have to take over everything else you do. An hour here or there, supporting, whether it's some sort of kids club like you do with the football, or whether it's supporting and starting something brand new. But you don't have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to volunteering. There's plenty of gaps, spots and areas to get involved in opportunities and programs that are all already running. But I've got to show you this. I couldn't not show you. But this is your reaction, Sam, and what you say and what you do after you've realised you've won.
I want to say an enormous thank you. It's an incredible thing that the BBC recognises even the work of all the volunteers in communities across the country. And I feel really honoured to be one of many amazing nominees tonight. And I just want to say that the volunteers that work with me are the magic of everything that happens, because I have the ideas, but I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those volunteers out in communities supporting and helping people. And of course, tonight I dedicate this award to my husband, my amazing husband. And for him, sport kept him going through a diagnosis of a very rare tumour. And Mike's ambition was always to keep on going. And if he couldn't run, he would walk. And if he couldn't walk, he would coach and he would support people. So I just want to say, please, everybody, have hope. Whatever happens, have hope. And please, just keep going. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sam. Beautifully said, if I may say so. And I don't know about anyone else, but your reaction to when you won might just be the Zoom moment of 2021. Congratulations once again, our 2021 Unsung Hero, Sam Barlow.
Massive congratulations to you. You know, you deserve that for everything you do, and I'm glad that it's been recognised. And but Phil, like, we talk about those grassroots in terms of volunteering, and then how sport can blossom with going out and playing a little bit of sport because you enjoy it, getting on the water at age 8, and then it turns in to massive achievements. But very often volunteers follow that path with them, don't you? You're saying about the woman on the water. They're part of that.
Yeah, I think we need to remember that even at the very top levels of sport, that you guys have been talented and hardworking enough to reach. Even at that level, you'll know, volunteers are still really important. So there's another opportunity for somebody who wants to get involved in sport but hasn't got the talent that you've been blessed with, nor have I. But you might end up in a place that you never thought was possible because of the time and the skills that you can put in. So those skills can be varied. You don't have to be blessed with sporting talent. I think about my own football club. It's about finance, and it's about legal and safeguarding and marketing and social media and all the things that people in this room will have their own talent and expertise in. Sport really needs you. And there's another reason that sport needs you, because the last 2 years have been difficult for everybody. And although we've still got very proudly 6 million odd volunteers working in sport for free every week, that's a drop in 3 million people from 2019 and before the pandemic. Now, there are some really obvious reasons why people have stopped doing things. Habits are interrupted, or some of the sport just didn't take place. But we really need those people back, or we need a new influx of volunteers. Otherwise, those kids in my football team, or Sam's mums, or Hannah's colleagues, they're not going to get the chance to do what they really love doing. So sport really needs you, and it needs the skills that you've got. You don't have to be sporty to get involved.
No, that's entirely right. I mean, you mentioned a few different background skills there with finance, etc. But wheelchair rugby, you know, we've got welders, we've got mechanics, we've got nurses, we've got physios that all give up their time to make sure. We have an expression, you know, will this make my chair go faster? And as an athlete, we choose our decisions on what we eat, when we go to bed, you know, and our lifestyle around, does this choice make my wheels go faster? And when you've got other people, volunteers, that are buying into that with you, that want nothing but the best for you, you start basing your decision on, well, what's the point, not just for me, but, you know, should I be resting, like the physio said, that's volunteered their time to help me? If I don't rest in the way that they said, I'm not just letting myself down, but why have they bothered giving their time? The mechanics, the people that come along to repair our chairs and our punchers, you know, you want to do your best, not just for yourself, but for them. And you must have had a feeling of that with the lady that was helping you into your boat.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I did. I genuinely sail out away from her and think, oh, I better do well today, otherwise she's going to think it was something she did. But I also want to say that we're really blessed in the UK to host so many incredible sporting events, and all of those sporting events only take place because of the volunteers. So, you know, we've got the Commonwealth Games are happening here this summer in Birmingham. I think we've got the World Cycling Championships in Glasgow in a couple of years' time. We've got many cricket, there's just tons of amazing sporting events. So if sport's your passion, but you're not necessarily at the elite level and you want to get involved, then definitely speak to Phil's colleagues at the front and get stuck in.
That's it. So whether it's your local team for every Saturday for a couple of hours, or you want to get involved in a big event, there's avenues and pathways to do that. And Phil, that brings us on to Club Matters. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, Club Matters is something we've developed to help people running sports clubs up and down the country in England. We have got a few overseas users, interestingly, but mostly for England. And it helps with the tasks that we found those sports administrators find the most troublesome or difficult. So that can be finance, it can be marketing, it can be how to communicate with your parents if you're running a junior club, it can be how to recruit new volunteers. And instead of doing it in a slightly more old-fashioned way that when I started my volunteering life we would have done it, Club Matters now provides that professional expertise in some cases, but it also provides information about how things are done in other places. You mentioned not reinventing the wheel. Very few problems or issues that come up in sport haven't been encountered before. So Club Matters is a place where other clubs, other individuals can put their expertise. I hope we've got Sam on there somewhere talking about how she's done what she's done, because it might and it will inspire other people to tackle some of the things that they're facing.
Yeah, it is very often, isn't it? I mean, I myself, I use the expression now coming from sport, now doing a little bit of coaching and volunteering and giving my time back to the sport. It's very often about paying it forwards, isn't it? You've done your bit, and now whether it's paying it forwards back to the sport that helped you become who you are, or whether it's that bigger picture and paying it forward to the world and getting people to realise that actions have consequences. And you do both.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess feel incredibly lucky to have found two things that I really cared about throughout my life, and I don't sit here unaware of the privilege of that, because I know a lot of people don't have that. So I feel very lucky for that. But yeah, that's it really.
No, it's great. It's great. And what we've got now is just a short video to show exactly what Club Matters is.
To the volunteers who work so hard to keep our clubs and groups going,
I want to say a massive thank you. Because of you, we have something to return to.
And we will be able to take part in the sports and activities we love once again.
During this difficult time, he has given us hope, kept us connected, and made us feel excited about coming back. Thank you for everything you have done.
And for all that you continue to do.
You're amazing. We can't wait to see you again.
You can see there, yeah, absolutely. The efforts that are made in opening doorways and allowing, because not everybody is, well, let's face it, not everyone's quite as forward thinking as maybe what you are, Sam, you know, in terms of, okay, well, we can see a gap, or I can see a gap, I can tell that I'm filling a gap, and people are reacting to what I'm doing, and now it takes on a life of its own. You know, you say about 14 clubs, is it, you say, up and down?
15 this
15
year.
now,
Yeah,
15
yeah.
now, up and down the country. But very often, you saw there on the amount of logos that are there, you know, top-end sports. And this is just it, isn't it, Phil, that you've got those avenues, and what you're providing is pathways in for people to volunteer if they don't want to go and start something new.
Well, Sam's a brilliant example of that, because for all those logos of long-established organisations, there's a changing environment here, and not everybody wants to be part of the kind of formal club structure, you know, join your local sports club. And Sam's hit on something very special here, because those women who are now out running with you didn't really know they wanted to do that, Sam, did they?
No, and I think also, you know, people have come to us now through different methods. So now, having set up bereavement walking sessions, that's been really powerful, because it's brought together the opportunity for people to you know, talk about their grief, but in an active way, which is perhaps less intimidating than going to a group. And at the time we started that, all those sessions hadn't restarted post-COVID. And it's incredible that people came along to those groups for their support around grief, are now volunteers, and are now, you know, it's changed their life and it's given them support. So, you know, it's an amazing direction that volunteering might take you.
And that's it, isn't it? I mean, you're an example of this, finding a passion, and then it's sometimes it really is about rallying the troops. You know, you've invented this whole program about plastics, but you saw there how important it was to many other athletes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I would just want to highlight, like Sam, I know how incredibly hard it is to start something, and to not really have any intention of where it's going to go necessarily, but just want to do something, and then suddenly it starts to take off, and actually the amount of work involved in getting it progressing and taking off is absolutely phenomenal. So massive hats off to you for everything you've done. I think it's absolutely amazing. But yeah, I think, you know, whether you're the person leading the charge or the person that sees an idea and goes, I want to get involved in that, everyone's as valuable as everyone else. And for me, I just want to reiterate again, it's just that community feeling of being a part of something, meeting new people, making connections. That is happiness in life. Yeah. And so, you know, I can 100% see why volunteering is such a powerful thing to do.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't say it better than that, but it is things like the plastic pledge that you've put together. You start to realise that it's actually important to a lot of people, and sometimes whether it's a running club that for people that aren't looking to to be the best in the world, but they want more from it than just running. You know, it's that social interaction. But you start to realise whether it's trying to change the way plastic's used in sport or helping the local community, when you start something, buy-in is very often there. It just takes that spark for people.
Yeah, 100%, yeah. And you don't always think that initially, because you see a problem and you go, I want to try and do something about this, and you do, and then suddenly you're inundated with people that also want to do something about this. And that actually for me was really overwhelming with the Big Plastic Pledge, was the amount of sports events, athletes, clubs, everyone that were like, I want to get a part in this, and I was like, okay, this is amazing, but how do I then harness all that interest and goodwill was also quite a challenge.
And what would you say, Sam, to people if they have got an idea, they can see a gap in the volunteering market, something that they know would help them, and they want to use it to try and help and support their community? Where's your first steps? How do you do this?
Well, I think just have a go, first of all. See if anybody will support you and what you want to do. There are so many organisations, depending on what the area of volunteering is. So if you've got a national governing body, there's amazing support. We get great support through England Athletics. So whatever area you're working in, there will be somebody else that will support you in that. You just have to tell them you've got the idea, and I reckon there'll be help out there.
Yeah. And then that brings us on, you know, Phil, we've talked about the sports and the journeys maybe that we've gone through, how volunteering has helped us, how we now pay it forwards, etc., etc. But what the volunteers get out of this?
Well, I mentioned at the start, Steve, we can show with our research that individual volunteers are not just telling great stories like you've heard today about what it's done for them, but the data will show you that volunteering, the act of volunteering itself, you're not just making a difference to another person's life or several other people, but you're making a difference to your own health and well-being. And who doesn't need that right now? Your own physical health,
to the world's,
a difference to the world, the whole of the future. But for other people who are involved, for people that you are helping, for the organisation you're working for, you're doing something great for your community, but you're doing something great for yourself. And I don't think we should be shy of saying that. There is a real benefit to you in doing it. If you're not able to talk to my wonderful team here today and you think you've got something you want to talk about, come to volunteering@sportengland.org and we'll fix you up with something, whether it's very local, whether it's national, whether you don't quite know what you want, we'll try and find you a way. We need all the volunteers we can get. We especially need volunteers from, let's call it, less represented groups. There's a lot of volunteers out there who look and sound a bit like me, middle-aged white men, and we're looking for people who are not just like me, because of course we've got inequalities in sport as we have in life more generally.
That's right. That's something that you're quite hot on, is tackling inequality.
Yeah, well, again, all the data will show you that the more you are much less likely to be active in a way that will benefit your health and well-being if you are from a poorer area, if you are not from a community like me who has had the privileges of being involved in sport, or even knowing where your local sport club is, or being able to afford to go swimming or go to your local leisure centre. So that is our mission, not just more people being active, but more different people, because we're trying to close the inequality gap. The vital bit of that is we need volunteers from those communities as well. You know, we need people in those areas who understand the local community, who understand the place. They're trusted. One of Sam's greatest achievements is you've got the trust of those women, haven't you? And yet it's not happened by magic. It's because you are like them. You're there. You're one of them. And we need more people in local communities everywhere to be doing that.
To be trusted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes entire sense. And this is it. I mean, when I talk about my relationship with volunteers, that is a massive part of it. You know, whether it's with my health, with doctors and nurses and physios that are giving up their time to support me in a sporting environment, whether that's with my chair, the mechanic. You know, you need to have people that you trust. And a lot of the people that are volunteering now, that have helped me through some of the top parts of my life, you know, going and being captain at London 2012, they're the same ones that was helping me get my chair out the car on the first day when I got to training. They are part of that, you know, the words used a lot, that journey. They're part of it, and I know that I wouldn't have had the success that I've had, and I'm sure it would echo right across everybody else here if it wasn't for the volunteers that get involved. I mean, I could talk about this all day, but we've got plenty more coming up for you on the main stage here. There's also obviously the workshops and exhibitions, and in about half hour's time, you're going to get on stage here the launch of Vision for Volunteering and about the 10-year strategy to increase the impact of volunteering. But for the meantime, please give me a massive round of applause for our panel here, Phil Smith, Sam Barlow and Hannah Mills. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you.